get closer to how do we get closer to having a system that is similar to what McDonald's has in place? Everything from the administrative systems all the way through that business. You know, McDonald's has it all systematized. We're talking about the temperature of the condiments and the fryers, and there's a lot of consistency in place. And what we want is for everyone to know what to do, when to do it, how to do it. So most business owners have some of these things in place, but there isn't really a system that can be handed to somebody else. And when you lack those systems, it's, you know, it's less than optimal. So just to give you a quick example before we dive into some of the specifics on the administrative systems, you know, I was working with a client that it was a law firm, and they had a person in the firm that was really good at negotiations and brought in a significant number of contracts. When that person left the firm, nobody else really knew how to do the negotiations successfully and bring those contracts in. So the whole firm's revenue began to decline because the other attorneys in the firm were not able to do the work because the work wasn't there. And all of that had to do with getting those systems documented. Some of you have employees, some of you are solopreneurs. So if and systems apply in both situations. If you have employees and somebody's doing really well and they're bringing in a lot of the money, then we want those systems documented so that somebody else would be able to take over if that person leaves, or, you know, for whatever reason, they're not able to work in the same capacity that they were able to work. What is it that they do? Because there were things in the negotiation process that negotiator at the law firm was doing that could be systematized. It's not magic. Successful businesses have routines. So we want to identify those so that you're not losing the opportunity to have that revenue coming in on a steady basis. The thing that solopreneurs do who don't have employees is we have, and I fall into this category of having that entrepreneurial brain where I'm jumping around and I go from one exciting prospect or project that I'm working on to another thing, and then I let go of the things that were working, right? Because many entrepreneurs like myself are very excited about all the new opportunities. And sometimes we get pulled into those new opportunities and let go of the things that are solidly working. It's systems that help keep me on track now. And I have some of that written down, and some of it could be written down a little bit better. So we'll talk about that today. What is it in your business that you're doing that works well, and then maybe you get away from it a little bit, and it would be good to get back to it. So with administrative systems, this can be everything from how, if you have a brick and mortar store, or you're out in the world meeting people, greeting people, how do you do that? What do you say? What are if you have a secretary or somebody who's handling mail services for you, how do they do that? What's the efficient system for handling routine things like mail coming into the business? What about office maintenance? What about paper management systems and workflows? All of these things, what I encourage you to do is write down the ones that stand out to you right now as, oh, you know, we do that, but we don't have a system written down. Some systems are very simple, can be as simple as how to make coffee, right? You can print it up, post it on the cabinet or beside the refrigerator. So if you're in an office space and there's other people who come and go, how do you do something simple like make the coffee or handle the mail? So all of these things can be written down. Even if you're a solopreneur, what time of day do you go get the mail? It's good to think about what your energy level is at different times of the day. You don't probably want to be processing mail when it's the time of day when you have the most energy and you're the most creative and ideas come together. Do that stuff during that low energy time of day. So think about your energy levels as well. Okay, let's move to looking at business growth and what is it that really grows a business. There are a couple main categories here on the screen that we're going to dive into. And the first one is this area around the foundations of any business. So any business has, hopefully, a market dominating position. A market dominating position is that thing that makes you stand out. Make sure that you have a way to get that message or that way that you stand out into all of your material, into your marketing material, how you answer the phones, how your staff, if you have staff, talk to people about what it is that you do. You want to have market dominating position statements that everybody knows. So think about that. Think about your strategy for growing your business and your offers. What is the system that you have in place to put offers in front of prospects? And does everybody on your staff know what the offers are and how to present the offer so that it includes your market dominating position or the thing that makes you stand out so that people say, oh, I'd be crazy to do business with anybody else, right? That's part of your offer. Policies and procedures. And when all of this is done right, it's going to incorporate your trust, your expertise, education of your prospects about what you do, how you do it, and why you're the best at doing it, and they should choose you over everybody else. So these are foundational components. Take a moment, take a breath, and ask yourself, what do I have in place? What do we have systems around? What could we have systems around? And so as you're taking notes, I'm going to encourage you to divide your notes kind of into two categories. Maybe you circle things or you put a star by other things, but the two categories are this. One is, what do we already have or have had that worked well? And then the other category is, what do we not have systems around that, yeah, it might be a good idea. That's the low-hanging fruit for us to have a system around this other concept, right? So think about those two areas, and maybe you're circling the things that you have now or have had, and then the other one, you could put a star by it or use a different color ink pen or something to say, oh, this one, we don't have this. And it'd probably be a good idea to have. Okay, so a little bit about note-taking there. Let's go on to talking about leads. Leads is another really hot area for all business owners. How do you get your leads? And so at first, just think about how you get them. Do you use referral systems? Do you have joint venture partners and alliances with other businesses? What's your publicity? Are you doing a lot of advertising? Are you using direct mail? Are you, no, advertising's on there again. Okay, digital marketing. Are you using a lot of digital marketing? Do you have some other means of getting leads? So think about what systems you're using to get leads. And then as we talk about leads and customer relations, think about how do you have systems around the incoming phone calls? So if somebody answers that call, whether it's you or somebody else on your team, what do they say? What are the scripts that your salespeople use, whether that's you or somebody else? Is there really a system to it, or is it sort of a random conversation and everybody's doing it a little bit differently? There are some things that work better than others. So all of the things that are here on the screen are some ideas for you to think about. Some will apply to some businesses, some will apply to other businesses. You want your market dominating position to be present in all of your customer relationship systems. So customer retention is an important part of this. How do you retain customers? How do you do those service calls so that you're not an annoying pest, but you're a welcome call? It's a welcome service call, and it gives you the opportunity to emphasize how important your services are to the customer, and it reminds them of all of your expertise. Do you have all of that systemized? Okay. Newsletter templates. Those are a great opportunity to, again, systematize how often the newsletter is going out. What's the template look like? Could that be improved? What's your communication strategy on an ongoing basis so you don't lose contact with those current customers and the prospects? There may be an opportunity in there, if you've not already automated some of this, to have a weekly or at least a monthly newsletter that goes out that talks to your customers and your prospects about what's going on in the industry. No matter what industry you're in, there's some kind of news, there's some kind of update that can, if you provide it to your customers, then they see you as being more valuable. So what's your system around all of that? Okay, so let's see if I can change screens. Sorry, guys. Conversions. Once you have the customers, what do you do? Or you have the leads, I'm sorry. Once you have leads, what do you do to convert them into using your services and becoming a paying and happy customer? What's your offer? And does everybody know how to articulate the offer? What's the script that they're using? And does that script really convey what you want it to do? Are you tracking your initial close rates? This is a huge opportunity to start to identify the things that are going to accelerate your business the most. How you get the leads, the scripts that you're using, the initial close rates, and then your follow-up close rates and your email drip campaigns. As you track your business's success with each stage of this journey, you can then identify what part of it you want to work on and improve next. But if you're not tracking any of it, then you don't really know what to work on next. So at the very beginning, when I talked about, well, a successful business knows what to work on and in what order, this is part of that conversation around where do you put your focus? What do you systematize next? What do you spend your days working on? If you see that your initial close rates are high and you are closing a lot of customers, then take a look at follow-up close rates. Are you following up with the prospects that didn't buy the first time that you had that conversation with them? We have probably all heard the statistics that most customers don't buy until somewhere between the 5th and the 12th conversation with them. So are you following up 5 to 12 times? And what's your follow-up close rate? In order to do all of that follow-up, we want to have some drip campaigns, email drip campaigns in place. So what's your system for that? Let's take a look at the communication systems with that. So this is all related to those conversions and the communication. Do you have, if you're a larger system, some sort of template for memos? Do you have the letterheads? That's true whether it's a small organization or a large organization. Can you get to the letterhead easily if you're going to mail something? What about team agendas? Is there a system for putting together an agenda for a team meeting? Newsletter templates, sales letter templates, minutes to meetings. How does all of that get communicated and followed up on? Okay. Now, if you're starting to get overwhelmed and you're thinking about, boy, there's a lot of things that we don't have in a system, just keep writing them down, and we'll come back to prioritizing in a minute. The first part of really honing in on this is getting that list of what do we have in place, what could be in place, and then we'll prioritize. All right. So keep going with your notes, and we'll come back to sorting out how you actually implement this. Okay, more transactions. Another big area for a business to grow is to look at, well, how do we create more transactions, more interactions with customers so that they're buying more? We're going to take a look at what's the sales team doing? How many appointments do we actually have so that the sales team stands a chance of making a sale? What are the additional products and services that we could be offering our customers that some of our customers don't even know we have? Because more transactions, this whole category, is really about taking that existing customer base and selling more products and services to them. So probably many of you have heard it's far easier and less expensive to work with the existing clients that you have than to go get new clients. Clients and customers are hard to come by, and it's expensive to get those leads. It is much less expensive to increase the number of transactions you have with them. So think about the additional products and services that you might have, that you could be offering. And if you don't feel like you have any, spend some time thinking about that, or give me a call and we can have a conversation about that. Increase the frequency of purchase. How often do they buy from you? Is it once a year? Is it once a month? How can you increase that? What's the downsell? So if they don't buy the initial thing that you offer, what is a either less expensive or less risky thing that they could buy from you to get to know you? Maybe they don't know you, maybe they don't trust you yet, and they're just not quite ready to buy that larger item or service package. So what is something else that you could offer them? And you may end up offering that in one of your email drip campaigns, or your sales team might offer it in a follow-up conversation. But you as the business owner first have to have a downsell. And if you have it, then how do you let everybody know about it? What's the system for that? Reactivation of former customers. Do you have a system for contacting people who used to be customers, but they're not customers right now? And for whatever reason, they have moved on, or you just haven't seen them for a while. Maybe they got busy with something else. If they trusted you once and seemed like you had a good thing going, then what's your system for reaching back out? So all of this is related to our marketing systems, our referral programs, retention programs, all of the calendars that you might be using, the marketing calendars and sales procedures. Take a look at everything on here and make some notes about what it is that stands out to you, that you've either done it before and you've maybe let go of it, or maybe you're doing it now, but it's not in a system. And then, of course, the other side is, we really don't have a system around that. Maybe it would be good if we did. Okay. Okay. Profits. Oh, this one is so critical, and entrepreneurs have such a tough time dealing with financials and profits and increasing prices. Like, it makes most people very nervous to increase prices, right? Like, oh, so how often do you revisit what your current price is and whether or not you should increase the price of the service or the the thing that you sell, right? How often do you do that? What's your system around looking at how long you keep clients and customers? How often are you revisiting that? Not just in your head at 3 in the morning when you're worried about something, but in some sort of a routine basis, you sit down and you look at the numbers and say, okay, the average person stays with me for 3 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years. Like, how long do they stay with you? And how can you increase the longevity that you work with a customer? Upsells and cross-sells, great opportunities for more profits. Similar to the conversation about downsells, is how do you upsell and offer them a bigger package? Because if they are buying from you now, they obviously like you. How do you get them to love you even more and encourage them to utilize your services and your expertise? Because I bet there is more that you have to offer that they haven't taken advantage of yet. So what can you be offering them that's a bigger package? And maybe they don't even learn about it until they've worked with you for a period of time. Because sometimes we run into clients and customers for a specific reason, and we solve that problem for them, because that's what business is all about, solving problems. So we solve that problem, and once that problem is solved, well, there are other things going on that are related to that first problem that they were having, and now they trust you even more, so you can offer them a bigger package. So I hope that spurs some ideas. There's all of these things we could have long conversations about, so I'm just trying to give you a little bit to think about. Bundling. So this is, how do you bundle together your products or services? So it's not just one little thing, but a package of things that you can do for them. Cut costs. Have you really sat down and thought about how you can cut costs in your business? A lot of people haven't looked at that for a very long time. So when we're looking at profits and we're looking at financial systems, we want to take a look at what's the system around tracking all of these different areas, credit card purchases, accounts payable, accounts receivable. If accounts payable or accounts receivable has a long aging process to it and it doesn't get paid very often, there's huge opportunity right there to increase your profits and to systematize that. Like, how often are you looking at that? Is it on your calendar? Is it on there every week, every month? How often should it be on there? Are you taking a look at those bank deposits? And how often do you cut checks? Some companies cut checks and pay bills every day. Some do it once a week, every other week, once a month. Is it automated? Some of those recurring bills can be automated. Tax payments, is it happening on a regular, systematized basis? Review of the profit and loss statements, the invoicing, cash in and out, is that being reconciled every day? Employee expenses, how do those get handled? So all of these systems are things that so many entrepreneurs just don't want to deal with. Like, oh, I don't want to look at the financial side. If you have that reaction, then there's opportunity in here for improving the automation, the systems, and your profits, because there are probably things that are getting overlooked. Employee systems. If you have employees, and I'll go through this real quickly because I think there might not be a lot of people on the call right now who have employees, but how do you handle recruitment and retention, incentives? Is there a way that keeps everybody informed of all of the reviews and what's being considered important? And is the review based on the results that an employee is getting? Okay, so I'm going to jump into, actually want to take a look at the chat and see what you guys are coming up with in terms of top ideas for what could be implemented. And so if you would, go to the chat and type in some of the ideas, some of the things that you've either had in place and it worked well, or type in some of your opportunities and see if we can get a little bit of thinking going on and brainstorming happening in the chat about, what it is. Because I just threw a lot of ideas at you. And before we really talk about how to implement these new systems, let's see if we can indeed, do a little brainstorming. Because the first part to all of this is really identifying what is it that could be systematized. So if anybody has some thoughts, go ahead and pop it in the chat. Okay, I see Jennifer saying email drips are there, but I haven't used them recently and they worked. Yeah, so common that we come up with some things that worked and then we stop using them. So if anybody else has some things, what are the ideas that you have about what systems to put in place? Randall saying, so first off, I would say that without systems, policies, and procedures, your business might be worth nothing. That is absolutely true. It's very, very hard to sell a business that does not have systems and policies and procedures in place. It's really, any broker will tell you it's too dependent upon the owner. So yeah, it's got to be systematized. Tom says, I used to email a newsletter to my current customer base and haven't recently. I need to do that. Yeah. Onboarding of new members, Jennifer says, and Dawn says, curious about a customer liaison policy. Okay. What is a customer liaison policy? So yeah, customer, and it'll be different for different businesses, but as we look at how do you communicate with these customers so that they become a liaison for your business? And do you have a way to encourage them to do that so that they are that liaison? And Randall says, I've not used price increases over the years to not just improve cash flow, but improve my caliber of client. Absolutely. Sometimes if we are priced too low, actually all of the time, if we are priced too low, we will be seen in the marketplace as a business that, isn't doing quality work, because we all think of higher prices meaning quality, right? So we all want quality, and that is one of the biggest things that, when I'm working with some of my clients and my customers, and they're hesitant about increasing their prices, well, we want to take a look at how is that price positioning you in the market? Because if you're too low, then you're just not seen as a trusted quality provider. And it's one of the reasons that we want to put together some of those upsell packages, the bundling of services, and be able to offer higher prices so that you're positioned better in the marketplace. Okay, so let's take a look at, as we get going here, on the section about implementing some new systems. Almost always there is some concern about this being a very daunting and time-consuming task. And so we'll take a look at, well, how do you get started? Because it can feel really heavy. But the truth is that any task that is performed in your business more than one time can be systematized. And taking a look at what you're already doing is really the first step. We want to start there so that we don't lose the gains that you already have. Talking to your employees and looking at your own systems, if you're a solopreneur, of what is it that we do around here that maybe we haven't systematized, but we do it all the time, right? We do this on a regular basis. So if you look back at all of those things in that long list of what it takes to grow a business, there's lots of juice in there for thinking about what has just kind of emerged as a way of doing business. So one of the ways to help you get into your own head or into finding out what your employees are doing is if you have some sort of time tracking or timesheet program. That's a really good source of figuring out what you do and what they do. So keeping a list for about a week of everything that you do throughout the day, even though sometimes I've done this and I look back at it and I think, oh, I've wasted so much time. Anytime I start to feel like I'm not being productive enough, I go back to this process of looking at how am I spending my time, and I document about every 15 to 30 minutes. I just have this sheet of paper on my desk and I write down what I was doing. That'll give you a much better understanding of what you're doing, what your employees are doing. And it's an opportunity to refine it so that the things that need done that maybe aren't getting done can start to be built into a schedule. And so we're starting to talk about schedules. And as we look at all of these different areas, here are some of the top ones that I want to give you to really start to hone in on. What is it that you're going to systematize? The upsells and cross sells. If you want more profit in your business, these are great areas to take a look at. How do you increase that frequency of purchase? How do you increase customer satisfaction? How do you increase those patterns of purchasing? Now, as you go through your list and you're looking at what you do and what your staff do and the areas that you want to focus on first, you can start to put together these strategies in a lot of different ways. It might look like a spreadsheet, right? It could be something where you're looking at the number of leads that you have coming in weekly, daily. How much does that cost to get those leads on a monthly basis, on a per cost basis? How much revenue is coming from it? So you can get into all these spreadsheets, and each business is going to have different numbers to track. You really want to pay attention to what's the return on that investment, and then what's your new goal. As you look at putting together ways of tracking what you're doing, you might end up taking a look at spreadsheets. This is just one example. There are so many ways to put together some of these systems. You might end up diagramming your workflow and simply sitting down with a piece of paper and outlining what are the steps to this process. It might be sequential. There might be things where, if it's a yes, then that changes the workflow. If it's a no, then you're going down a different path. So diagram that out. So for example, if you contact somebody or they contact you and you have that initial conversation with them about purchasing your services and they buy it, then what happens? If they don't buy it, then it's a different branch of the workflow. They don't buy it. What's the next step that you take with them? Do you have a follow-up system in place? Do you have a way to overcome any objections that they may have had? What's that process? So diagram your workflow. Do this with employees. If you have employees, they will have tremendous insight about what that workflow looks like and where we're losing people and where we could be better, and start to diagram it out. You'll have incredible ideas when you sit down and diagram it. You basically have an opportunity to either figure out how to duplicate yourself or automate a lot of this. I haven't figured out how to duplicate myself yet, other than through automation. So take a look at how you can begin to automate a lot of what you're doing. I will say that at this point, I find that there's a lot of diversity in the implementation of systems, but I wanted to spend today's time thinking about what is it that needs systematized so that you begin to have the freedom from just that day-to-day grind and get yourself to the point where you really get to enjoy your business and it's not just a day-to-day grind. I want to extend the opportunity to all of you to schedule a meeting with me to talk more in depth about your individual business. And so I encourage everybody, I'm going to put a link in the chat as we start to wrap up here. And then I'm going to stop the share so that I can see all of you again. There we go. So good to see everyone again. I'm eager to hear more about, okay, what's your takeaway from that? What are the things about putting systems in place that start to make you a little bit nervous or uncomfortable? What excites you about it? Let's hear some feedback. And what are your takeaways?
Say it again, Linda. I'm sorry. Just
Really, what are your takeaways about putting together systems to elevate your business and grow it? What's your takeaway?
Well, I get I'm sorry, I'm jumping right in here, guys, but I get I can say that I've been working with Linda probably a year. And she's helped me. I don't know, we've lost track of time. It's been great, but everything that she's sharing today, I can say that she's helped me look at, and we're looking at things all the time. But it's what did you say one time? Sometimes people get bored because it is system. You get, you as an entrepreneur or somebody like, I think, we everything that comes by, you get all excited because it's a new way to do it, and or whatever, or something new you can throw in. I would say the times that I have followed the system, I put that in the email. We have an email drip campaign, and it didn't work once, Dion. I know you got an email that kind of threw you off probably on a deal, but when they're in place, those things, it gets me excited because I'm like, yes, if this works, if I put it in place, if I trust it, it works. And it's speaking when you can't, right? So yeah, I mean, or when you're hopefully doing something else, when you're out doing more business or recruiting. So that gets me excited. I'm gonna mute myself because I know you've got other people who don't know how cool it is to work with you, and they can ask you their questions. That's what it is.
Other questions? Who has thoughts about what you might put in place to increase your business and grow it and relieve your stress?
I could probably go, I guess.
Okay.
I think for me, just following up with my current customer base, I stopped doing that for some reason. And every time when I did in the past, it always worked really well. I usually get like 3 or 4 referrals out of it. Like, hey, call my cousin or call my aunt was looking for insurance, that type of thing. And I don't know why I just got away from that. So that was a good reminder. I need to do that. And then since I'm in insurance, there's all kinds of cross sell opportunities, other different type of products that maybe somebody has their auto and they don't have their house, or vice versa, that type of thing. So I could probably go back and look and at my customer base and figure out who has just maybe one product with me, and then try to cross sell that opportunity. Um,
Those are excellent, excellent examples. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
you're highlighting the point around the reason to have systems and how they make us so much more successful, because when we stop following up, we miss those opportunities, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I just got out of that habit. I just need to get the system in place.
Yeah. And I think it's happened to all of us that we've had some things that worked and it was in place, and then we stopped doing it because our attention got pulled into other areas. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And for insurance agents, that is an industry that benefits tremendously by doing the follow-up and being able to upsell and cross-sell and offer different lines of insurance and check in on people. How you doing?
Yeah, then people that also got quotes in the past. I mean, I might follow up with them once or whatever, but then I don't.
Yeah.
There's no follow-up system.
Yeah. Okay. Who else? Who else has some thoughts around systems that you could benefit by having them in place?
You know what? I have something as far as with my husband, because we're like solopreneurs basically, but we're trying to help each other.
Okay.
And just having the way that I do my side of the business, and when we started another one, how I do it, like a script or the standards, that would help him, because he's been asking me questions and I'm like, oh my gosh, why don't I just have this written down so he would know? And then he wouldn't have to ask me all the time. So
Yeah.
that definitely is a great idea, or having that system into place, just have it written out.
Yeah. Yeah. What we say makes such a difference to our customers and our effectiveness. And there have been days when I just feel, I'm on fire and the words come and it's great. And then there are other days where I'm stumbling all over the place and I don't seem to communicate the message as well. If I have a script and I know my bullet points, then I can communicate that message so much more effectively. But scripts are very important, because if we're rambling, then we're not likely to be hitting the high points about our market dominating position. We're not letting people really know about our expertise, our education, why they should be doing business with us, and how we can help them, like how their life will be better. So when those scripts are down and those bullet points are developed, the language is really important and we become a lot more effective. Okay. And Randall has written in the chat, takeaways to focus is building on my systems to help relieve stress, improve client relations, remind clients what I can do for them. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Dawn says she's been in and out. Most of it's in her head, or connection's been in and out here. So most things are in your head, which is so true for many, many entrepreneurs. So here's what I want to do as we wrap up this session is I'm going to give you a real quick example of just how much of a difference this can make. So So I'm going to do one more screen share, I think, if it'll let me here. Yep, there we go. And I will expand that. Okay, this profit acceleration simulator. Just real quickly, this is about the power of having systems in place. And I'm just going to quickly drop in here a $100,000 business with a gross profit margin of 50% and 10% for net profit. We're going to say this business is in the United States. So if we come down here and we look at some of these systems or areas in the business that we could build systems around and improve upon. Say we improve the use of that market dominating position just by 2%. Not a huge increase, right? We're not hitting home runs. We're not putting a lot of pressure on it, just improving it a little bit. What if we improve compelling offers by 2%? Just a little improvement. Drip campaigns. We talked about drip campaigns and maybe joint ventures. Talked about those a little bit. A lot of different things that I could be focusing on here. Upsells and cross sells. Those are really big. Just by doing those little 2% increases, we can increase this business's profits by 52% or $5,000. If we come on down, I'll scroll down just a little bit more. Their revenue is $100,000. For any business that's at $100,000, 50% gross, 10% net, they're going to have a profit margin of $10,000. We can increase that by 52% so that their new annual profit is $15,000, and their revenue goes from $100,000 to $110,000, just with little 2% increases, right? And I'm happy to meet with anybody to help you apply this concept to your business and actually figure out which area would it be the most profitable and give you the biggest bang for your buck to focus on. What area should you be focusing on? So I will take that down because we are just about out of time, but that is a really cool example, I think, of how all of this comes together. So any questions about that or comments related to just how impactful this can be? Can you see the potential for your business?
Linda, can I just say too, that I've asked you if you would do maybe a quarterly event like this, not necessarily hitting on the exact same things, but kind of a continuation. You're a member of TTR, so we're, actually we don't have too many business coaches that nobody does what you do. I know, in our network, I'm sure there's other people out there that do that, but so we're looking at, this is the first quarter, right? So we'll hopefully be able to, but I would reach out to Linda. Did you put your contact information, Linda? I think you did, right?
I think I did. Yeah. Yeah. It's up there in the chat.
And I will send out the link to this and a follow up with Linda's information. With her digital business card that's part of our referral runway digital business card. Doesn't matter, but I would encourage you to really reach out if you've got questions. Those of us who have taken advantage of Linda's profit acceleration roadmap have benefited from that. I know those are bits and pieces of that, right? That's kind of,
yeah.
You can talk about that.
Almost any of the areas that I mentioned today, we could spend entire weeks talking about. And so it's a lot of different things, but, as we talked about putting together some of the key areas to having a successful business and looking at systems, how do you first even decide what to systematize? So we need to kind of pull back and look at that big picture of all these different things that are involved in growing a business and start to then identify where your business is and what's the opportunity for growth. Which one's first, which one's second, what's third, and then start the implementation process. But first we have to figure out, where do you start? So let's look at the big picture and then start to zero in.
For sure. Okay. Well, I thank you very much, Linda. I mean, it's awesome. Thank you, thank you. And I would hope everybody, I will definitely send an email out yet today, and we'll get the link. It'll be on our website as well as social media and everything else. But Linda is Cash Overlooked, right? If they go to Cash Overlooked. Yep. Okay.
CashOverlook.com. And I'd love to talk with any of you and help you out, just to get some systems in place.
Sounds good. Good to see everybody. Everybody have a great day. I'm gonna post the recording and all of that, and you'll get a follow-up. Thank you very much for being on. Thank you, Linda. Yay. Great day, guys. Be safe. Yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
to see everyone.
Good
Thank
to
you.
see you. Bye-bye, guys.